Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to rig this character and take it to Unreal Engine 4. This character we're rigging already has a skeleton, and you might wonder, well, why don't I just use this skeleton? It already has one. Well, there are many reasons. For one thing, it doesn't have a root bone, it doesn't have twist bones, there are no IK bones. It's also not compatible with the original mannequin skeleton, so you can't import it on top of that, and you'll be locked out of a lot of functionality that the engine offers if you don't have the correct bone hierarchy. Also, the most important reason is that this skeleton is not suitable for creating animations. If you want to make new animations, you need a proper animation rig like the one that Rigify provides. Now, before we get into the step-by-step guide, let's take a brief overview. There are 3 stages to rigging this character. In the first stage, we will rename the bones, update the bone rolls, and get this character to be in the same pose as the Unreal Engine mannequin. We have tools in UE4 to help us do this. In the second stage, we add a Metarig and adjust its pose to match the character. It's nearly automatic, we just need to adjust the spine a little. And the third stage is almost completely automatic. You just tell UE4 to make the rig compatible for Unreal and it's taken care of. Alright then, let's get started. I'm going to select everything with A, X to delete, then in Scene Properties set the unit scale to 0.01 so Unreal Engine doesn't have problems later. Now I can set the view clipping distance to 50 meters so we have the full range of view. Then I could do File, Import, FBX, and find my character's FBX file. Now I don't want any animations, and in Armature, I'm just going to import it as it is. Now I can select the Armature, go to Armature Data Properties, take Viewport Display to the top and put it in front. While in Object Mode, I'm going to click on the Mesh, and in Item Properties, I'm going to make sure that the mesh is at location 0. It has 0 rotations and the scale is 111. And then I will click on the Armature and then check these values again. So again, we need 0 here. We need 0 rotations on this, so we'll have to fix this. And the scale on this is also 111, so that's good. Otherwise, we might have had to fix that as well. Now I'm going to go into orthographic view with the 5 key, and then I can scroll down here to UE4 Extra Tools, and I will click on any of these meshes. This Armature has multiple meshes attached, so just pick any one of them. And I'm going to click on Extract Mesh. So that'll separate all of our meshes from the Armature, so they are all now standalone objects. And then I don't want to deal with multiple meshes in this video, so I'm just going to join them together. But this process works just as well with multiple mesh objects, so you can keep them apart if you want. And then I will just select everything there and do Control J to create one single mesh. And then I can do R to rotate, X to lock the axis, and then 90 to put it back in place. Now, again, look at the item values here for this single mesh object. We have rotation of 90 here. We need this to be 0. We need these to be 0, and we need scale to be 111. So what I'll do is Control A, and then apply all transforms. So that fixes our mesh object. If you had multiple meshes, you would need to repeat this process for each one of them individually. Then I can select the Armature and then again check these item values. So for the Armature, again, we have a rotation here, so we need to fix this. Now if I do Control A, apply all transforms, that should take care of it. The second thing that you want to check for your Armature object is you go to Edit, and then you go to pose mode and edit mode. Okay, so use the tab to cycle through these modes, and there should not be a change here. If your Armature is moving about, that means that your rest pose is not the same as your animation pose. So what I'll do is I'll go to the pose mode, and then I will do Control A, apply pose as rest pose. So now the two should be the same. If I go back to edit mode or pose mode, there is no change. With the Armature and the mesh fixed separately, now I can go to object mode, select the mesh, shift click on the Armature, and then do Control P with Armature deform, and this will reconnect both of them. So now we have a single character again. So you can just test this by going to pose mode and see that it is working. Now we can go back to object mode and then just confirm once more that we have the correct rotation and location and scale for both of these objects individually. Now it's time to bring in the Unreal Engine mannequin. So I'll just create a new collection here. In object mode, I will go File, Import, FBX, and find the mannequin. Now I'll select the mannequins file here. I don't want any animations. When we bring in the mannequin, we have to select automatic bone orientation, import FBX, then I will click on the armature for the mannequin, do GY1 to move it back by 1 grid line. And I will go to the data properties here, put it in front so we can see what's going on. And then I will click on refresh list and I will, okay. One thing you have to make sure is that your character's rig should not be called armature. So I'm just going to rename it to be character because we need that name later on. So I'm going to make sure that this value is the name of the character's armature. This value is the name of the Unreal Engine mannequin's armature. And we haven't yet brought in a Metarig or a rig, so we can ignore these two. And we'll just hit refresh list again to make sure everything is okay. Now I can select the armature for the mannequin. And when we import one of these, there's usually a problem with the foot. So I'll just do fix mannequin and that'll fix our issue. I can edit this armature, hide some of these large bones so we can see what is going on. And then I can scroll up here, turn on names and look at the bone names in this bone hierarchy. Okay, it's for the spine. This one is called pelvis, spine underscore 01, spine underscore 02, and so on. So if I go back to object mode and select, well, let's just hide the mannequin. We don't need it right now. So I'm going to select this armature, again, turn on names. And what we need is for these names, these bones to have the same name as their corresponding bone is in the mannequin. And we have a few tools in UEFI add-on to help us with this. If we scroll down to the UEFI script panel to character operators, I'm going to click on this and you'll see that there's nothing here. This thing is empty on select mapping. But if I click on this second button and then try this again, and we'll have two values here that come by default. So I'm going to select mixamo original, and this character is a mixamo character. So they all have the same bone hierarchy, right? And then I can just do apply and all of my bone names have been updated. But this is only going to work for mixamo characters that were originally released. For example, this is not going to work for the fuse characters or for characters from another source or from the engine samples. So what we really need is some way to make our own character mappings. I'm just going to undo this so we can figure out how we can make our own mappings. So this is back to what the original was. If I check this drop down again, you'll see there's nothing here. So we'll just do scan this time and there'll be a new value called custom. So if I go to scripting and then in this drop down, there'll be a UEFI mapping custom JSON file. And I can look at this. And then if I go back to layout, let's just click on this button again to get those two extra values back. And then back in scripting, in this drop down, you'll see those two values here as well. I'm going to expand this window like so. Just grab the corner and drag it, and then use the mouse wheel to scroll over here. And from here, I will select UEFI mapping mannequin. The first values listed here are the names of the bones as they are in the armature, and the second values are what we would like them to be. So if I can just go over here, you can see we've got a hip, spine, spine 1, spine 2, and so on. So these things are listed over here, and I can just replace them with what I would like them to be. So these are what they should be like in the mannequin. So I just open this file as a reference, and I can just copy this and paste it over there. And so I can just replace these values one by one, and that's all there is to it. It's just a copy paste job. And creating these character mappings was really difficult with UEFI script, even for me, but in this add-on, it's really simple. Anyone can do this. If I scroll over here and use this drop-down menu, we're editing UEFI mapping custom. But if you open UEFI mapping mixamo original, you'll see it is exactly the same file. I used the seam tool to do a scan and get this list, and then I updated the second column to what the names should be. And now because I have this file, anytime I want to rig a mixamo character, it's just one click. So creating these is really simple. If you name you can also change the names here. So if let's say I fill out this custom file, and then I can just simply go here, leave UEFI mapping underscore as it is, and then just change this to the whatever I want this to be called. And then if I go back to layout, it'll be listed over here, right? We named it my name, so it'll be listed over here. So you can just fill out a file like this, rename it, and basically you can copy paste this into any new project that you want, and that's it. You'll have it done in one click. This data gets fed to Python, so you have to watch out for the indentation, but otherwise it's just a text file. I usually use Notepad++ to edit these, but you can also do this in Blender. I'll just use the mixamo original list to update the names on this, and now we can scroll up here and turn on axes, and we can update the roles on these bones. We could bring in the mannequin and one by one check what the role is on every corresponding bone, like for the pelvis, the spine, one by one check them, but there's an easier way to do this. I'm going to scroll back to the UEFI script panel, go back to character operators, and click on auto roles. And this will try to guess what the roles should be, and it mostly gets it right, except for sometimes not on the finger. So we now need to check if the roles are correct. And the way you do this is, for the spine, this red line needs to point towards the back of the mesh. So from the pelvis all the way through the neck to the head, everything has the x-axis pointing towards the back of the neck. We don't care about the eyes or any other bones. So just these 6 bones over here, these 2 bones over here, they should be pointing towards the back on the x-axis. We're considering only the left side, so we don't really care what's going on over there. For the arm, it'll be the same. For this bone, this bone, this bone, X goes towards the back of the mesh. And it seems like the script did a good job over here guessing what these values should be. For the foot, this bone, it'll be in the same direction as this line. And for the final bone, it'll be going straight up. And remember, this is not part of the hierarchy, and even if this was controlling something in the mesh, we don't care. We just care about these 2 bones, these 2, and the spine, along with these 3 bones. So if there are additional bones like twist bones or whatever there is, just ignore that. These are the only ones we care about. For the hand, this is where it most often can get things wrong, but for the hand, this x-axis needs to point out from the bottom of the hand. So if your hand is kind of rotated, it'll be pointing straight out the bottom of the hand, not necessarily going straight to the ground. Same for the fingers. X-axis needs to exit from the bottom of the fingers for each of these bones, and including the thumb. So if you look at the thumb here, its bottom is towards the side, so x-axis is pointing correctly on all of these bones. So the script got everything right, and we didn't have to do anything. But if it didn't, it's pretty easy. You select the bone that you want to update. You go down to the UEFI extra tools, and there is a bone roll tool here, and you can select the axis where you want the x-axis to point toward, and then you just roll the bone, and it's as easy as that. If you do roll one of these bones using the tool, be sure to right click on it and click on symmetrize so the other side is also fixed. But if this script got everything right, then we just really don't have to do anything. Okay, so scrolling back to the UEFI script panel, we used the character mapping, we did the auto rolls. Now we have to post the character, but before we do that, we can actually improve the armature just a little so we get a better pose out of it. If I bring back the mannequin and just hide the character for a second here, if you look at these shoulder bones, you'll see that they're kind of dipping that way from the front, and from the top, you'll see that it is really pulled back. and the shoulders have quite a stretch on them backwards. So we need something similar in our character. From the front, I can just edit this, grab this part here and take it up like so. And then from the top, we could move it forward, lock it, use the G key and then lock it on the Y-axis, and then just bring this forward just a little, not too much. And then we can also adjust the rolls on it so it is not slanted towards any one side. Okay, from the top, we do want it to be pointing backwards like so, but not as much as it is in the mannequin, because when we do the pose character, we want this character to have its shoulders pulled back at least more than they are right now. But if you match this exactly like it is in the mannequin, the shoulders won't move at all, then that's not what we want. And then I can just right click on this and do symmetrize, and it'll fix the other side. Another change that we can do is in the hands. So if we select the hand bone and look at it from the top, in the mannequin, this bone is more like this. Okay, it is between these two fingers, and from the front it's also a little bit towards the top like so. Okay, and the third thing that we can do is to fix this thumb. These bones are not connected, although it'll probably work as it is, but we'll get a strange stretch on the thumb. So what we want to do is select this part, do Shift S, cursor to selected, and then select this, Shift S, selection to cursor, and then I could select this part, do Shift S, cursor to selected, and then select this bit, do Shift S, selection to cursor. And that kind of improves things a little bit here. I could also do Alt A to deselect everything, box select this, and then just kind of straighten this out a little, and maybe even Alt A deselect everything, box select this, and then also straighten this out a little. And then I could do select this, Shift N, active bone, and that makes the rolls a little bit better as well. Then we could do go to wireframe mode, box select everything, right click on it and symmetrize, and that'll fix the other side. And we no longer need names and roles on this, so I'm just gonna turn those off. We can go back to the Uefy script panel, and we have to pose the character now. We'll need the mannequin for this part. So we just bring the mannequin back and we click on pose character, and that poses our character for us, and then we don't need the mannequin anymore. If we go to the side view here with the 3 key, we need to improve the positioning of the feet a little. So I'll use the deselect everything, use the box select these two bones. Well, just only these two. So these two are selected. And then I can use the R key to position them like so. Then I'll select the A key to select everything, G to grab, Z to lock the axis, and then bring everything down so it's on the floor like that. And then Alt A to deselect everything, and then we can look at it from the front. Similarly, just rotate this into position, lock it on the Z axis, bring it like so, and then rotate it like that. Okay, so right now we don't really care where this bone is pointing at or what it looks like. What we really want is for the foot to look like it is in the mannequin. All right, so the foot, it looks like this, is kind of pointing straight, and this bit kind of juts out a little over there, but that's what we're going for. So our foot basically looks like that right now. So this is good, and we don't really care where these bones are at. Back in pose mode, we can then select these two, do Control C to copy them, Shift Control V to fix the other side. You can also improve the fingers a little. Now this really depends. If you're using animation packs you've purchased for Unreal Engine from the marketplace, it could be that they just expect the fingers to be like that, because this is what the fingers are like in the mannequin. But if you're making your own animations mostly, it is going to help if we select these lower parts, not these ones, and then do Alt R to straighten them up a little. Because when we curl the fingers, it's just easier for Rigify to handle this. But if you're mostly going for the animations packs, you could probably just leave them as they are. And then if you do this, you do Control C to copy them, Shift Control V to fix the other side. Okay. If we switch between pose mode and edit mode, you'll see that the edit mode is still in a T pose. But we want this to be like this all the time. So what we can do is go to object mode, select the mesh, okay, not the armature, select the mesh, go to the UE4 extra tools and do update rest pose, and that'll just fix it. So if we go back to pose mode here and then go back to edit mode, you'll see there is no difference anymore, and we didn't have to do anything other than click a button. Now that the pose is fixed, there's still one more thing we can do to help us fit the Metarig better to this character. If we go to the front, go down here, we can hide this bone here. We don't need it. And then we can improve the position of these bones. So I'm just going to select these two parts like so, and then just grab them and move them like that, and move this like so. I could also improve the roll on this a little, and it might help to look at the axes on these. Okay, so it is still correct. This points that way and this points straight up like it should. And then we could select both of these, right click, symmetrize, and that'll fix the other side. Now we can go back to object mode. I will create another scene collection and bring in our Metarig. This is the object that will give us our final animation rig. So I'm going to do Shift A, go to Armature, and select Human Metarig. And I will press the S key and type in 100 to scale it up. This comes in small because we set the unit scale at the start of the project, which is necessary. Then I will press the S key, scale it down so the shoulders are a rough match. This doesn't need to be exact. And then again, we look at the item properties. Scale needs to be 111, so we do Control A and apply all transforms, and then just confirm that the location is 0, rotation is 0, and scale is 111. I'm going to put the Metarig up in front so we can see, and then down to the UE5 script panel, we'll hit refresh list, make sure this value is the name of the Metarig that we just brought in, and then further down in Metarig operators, we can do fix Metarig to make it compatible, and then pose Metarig to make it match our character. If we look at the fingers here, you'll see that they don't quite match up like they do 100% most of the time. That's probably because in this character, just like the thumb, the bones for the fingers were not perfectly overlapped, or they were not connected. So if you want a perfect match here, that is something you'll have to update in your characters, but I guess this works too. We can select the characters armature and then shift click on the Metarig to have both of these objects selected at the same time. and then we can go into edit mode and take a look at the front. And for the time being, we can turn off the mesh. So we have just these two things visible. Alt-A to deselect everything. I'm going to box select this side and then just hide it, and then box select the other side and then hide that as well. And then we look at it from the side, and I want to select the Metarig, and I'll make sure it's the Metarig by looking over here. And then with the cursor on any of the bones in the Metarig, I'll press L, and I'll do the same for the neck. So cursor on the neck bone, and then press L to select this entire chain. And then I can use the G key to match the base of the neck with the base of the neck in the character, like so. A rough match like that. And then I can select these bones, match the next joint like that. Select these bones, match the next joint like that. Select this one, put it over there, and then select this one and put it over there. Then I can also select the head bone and place it where it needs to be, like that. And then we could also bring in the mesh, hide the original characters, armature. So we just take a look at how these bones are positioned, and if this works for us, it looks fine to me. And then we can do Alt-A to deselect everything, Alt-H to bring back everything, then Alt-A to deselect everything again, go back to object mode. And I just want to select the Metarig here. So I'm just going to click on the Metarig, hide the characters armature for a minute here, and then I will edit this and put this heel bone in place. So grab this, I'll lock it on the x-axis. So I'm going to put this over there, put this about over there, 3 key, look at it from the side, G key, lock it on the y-axis, and then bring it like that, right click, and then symmetrize to fix the other side. All right, so the Metarig is basically fixed. So I'm just going to hide it for a minute, bring back the characters armature, and we're almost done with this. So go to object mode. I'm going to select on the mesh, go back to the Uyefy extract tools and extract the mesh. Okay, so the mesh is now separate from the character's original armature. I'm just going to drag it over there, and we don't need this anymore. Okay, so bringing back the Metarig. In object mode, I can select the Metarig and then click on generate rig. This will generate us the final Rigify rig that we've been working for. And now we can hide the Metarig, and I will bring this to the front as well. So we can see now I can click on the mesh, shift click on the rig, and then do Control P, armature deform. This will attach the mesh to our new rig. And then we can go down here, click on refresh list, make sure that this rig value is pointed towards our new rig. And then further down, we can do a preprocess, and then make sure that mode is epic skeleton, and then we can just do build skeleton and give this a minute. This is going to rename the rig to armature, and at this point, this character will basically be rigged and working. There will be a few missing pieces that are not in the epic skeleton mannequins hierarchy. For example, the eyes on this character are not weight painted, as you can see over there. Now, if this character had twist bones or accessories like shoulder pads or backpacks or whatever, those would also not be working at this point, and we have additional tools to make them work as well. Because of the way the fingers are in the mannequin, it pays to check if these Rigify fingers are working correctly. So I will select this control here, press S to scale, and then move it forward, and it should twist inwards. But it's moving sideways, okay? It's not actually curling inwards. This finger is working correctly. That's how it should behave. But you'll see most of these fingers, they're kind of broken. Okay, this one works, and this one is also broken. All right, so we can fix this. First, we have to go to object mode, bring back the Metarig. Let's just hide the armature for a minute here. If we select the Metarig and go to pose mode, I will select the base of each of these fingers and then go into the bone properties here, go down to the Rigify type and bend rotation axis, set this to X manual. All right, so I'm going to set all of these to X manual because Rigify fingers are kind of crooked while the mannequin's fingers are crooked while Rigify expects them to be perfectly straight. So we have to set this to be X manual, and then let's just box select all of this to right click. Well, actually just goes to edit mode and then symmetrize this. And then on the other side, let's just make sure, select this one, bone properties. All right, bend rotation axis is X manual. All right, good. Okay, so we go back to object mode. I'll deselect everything, armature data properties. With the Metarig selected, okay, we need to have the armature, or rather the rig visible at this point. And then we can just click on generate rig. And then we just fall back down to UE4 script panel and then click on build skeleton once more. Give this a minute, and now we try our fingers, try the thumb. Okay, that's the right direction, correct direction. That's also working. Okay, let's just get the Metarig out of the way so we can see. And this is also working. This finger is kind of turned in the mannequin as well, so that's fine. And this is also working. So that is something that you might have to do. If I go to object mode and select the mesh, I can look in the vertex data properties over here, vertex groups. In the object data properties, look in the vertex group, and I will find the left eye and the right eye. Okay, so we go into edit mode, Alt A to deselect everything. I will select the left eye and then click on select. And this basically selects the eye over there. And then I will remove all of the weight paint from this. And then I'll find the head and then I'll just assign it over there. Same for the right eye. Alt A to deselect everything so nothing is selected. Click select here and then remove these vertices from the right eye group, and then click on head and assign these vertices to the head with full weight. Okay, so Alt A to deselect everything, go back to object mode, select the rig again, go to pose mode, and now if we move, you'll see the eyes move with the head. So that is one way you can update the weight paint with just the vertex scripts. In other tutorial videos, we'll show how to add additional bones and get all those twists and accessories working as well. If we scroll up here and click on this layer, this contains the export chain that deforms the mesh. If you want to update any weight paint, these are the only bones that you will update. Don't add any weight paint to the control bones. The next layer has the facial rig if we added one, and this layer has the IK chain that is exported to the engine. We don't add any weight paint to it, but it does get exported with the other bones. To export this armature, we can go to object mode, select the mesh, shift select the armature, go file, export FBX, select the name of the file you want to export it to or type it in over there. We want to export only the selected objects. We want to export only the deformed bones, don't want to add any leaf bones, and we're not dealing with animation right now. So export FBX, and then I can export it a second time. If I wanted to use the Unreal Engine mannequin skeleton during import in Unreal, I just have to click here once, but before we do that, make sure you make a backup of the blend file because this breaks the blend file for animation and we can't use it for anything other than exporting. So I'm just going to click once here. select the mesh, shift select the armature, file, export, FBX, this time a different file, and then again selected objects, armature, only the deformed bones, and we're not dealing with animation, so export this. In the engine, we can then do import, find the file that we exported with the Blender-based joint rolls, open this. I'm not going to select any skeleton, just leave it at none and do import, and that'll create a new skeleton for me. And now I can open this character, go to the skeleton tab, and confirm that this bone hierarchy actually matches the Unreal Engine mannequin. Then we can do options, show retargeting options, and we're going to set this to be, recursively set this to be skeleton, and we set the root to animation and the pelvis to animation scaled. We go down here, set the IK bones to be animation. And we need to do this for retargeting to work correctly. By the default value of animation that you get on new skeletons doesn't work very well. We also want to click here to apply the asset, otherwise you'll have problems selecting the skeleton while retargeting. And then finally, in the retarget manager, you want to make sure that this select rig is set to select humanoid rig. The other values will already be configured properly because of the way the Uefy add-on built the skeleton, and our pose will also be accurate. It matches the mannequin perfectly. Next, we will go to, I'm going to select some of the marketplace animations that I purchased, and I'm going to retarget them onto our newly imported character. So I'll just select some animations, do retarget anim assets, duplicate anim assets, and I will pick the mannequin, I will pick the skeleton for my new character. It will be this one that we just imported. I'm going to change the location where I want these files to end up. So I'm going to select the directory here and then just do retarget, then back over here. This should just work perfectly. Now I am a little concerned that because we didn't really spend too much time on fixing the fingers on the original character, so I just want to make sure that the fingers, yeah, they seem to be working pretty well. If you want a absolutely perfect retarget, you will have to make sure that the Metarig matches the character skeleton perfectly, and it looks exactly like it is in the Unreal Engine mannequin. The closer you get to it, the more work you put into it, the better the retarget will be at this stage. But this works pretty well in any case. If you would like to import your character onto the mannequin skeleton, well, let's just create a new folder here. We can also import it directly onto the mannequin skeleton. So I'll use the second file this time with the Unreal Engine mannequin joint rolls and open this. And all you have to do is select the mannequin skeleton here. I have a bunch of them, but I need the original mannequin skeleton, which will be in game mannequin character mesh. That's the default location and the third person template. So pick this skeleton and then do import. And if you set the joint rolls to be Unreal Engine mannequin in Blender, this will work out perfectly. It works correctly. But if you go to the skeleton tab, you'll see the mannequin. And if you go to the animation tab, we can do preview mesh and select our newly imported character, and all of the mannequin animations will just work with this immediately, and you don't have to retarget anything. But it does complicate matters when you're making new animations, because then you'll have to import them twice. You'll have to import them to your Blender-based character and then retarget them to the original mannequin. It's kind of an extra step. I usually don't bother with this. I just use the Blender-based character directly, and all of my animations can just come in immediately on this. Be sure to review the video I made on rigging the mannequin. I explain in it how I set up my project to share animations using the Blender rigged mannequin. So that's something that you can also do. That's all for this time. Hit like on this video, and if Uefy has been helpful to you, please consider telling other developers about this project. Thank you for watching.